Yes, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's being live streamed now. You can start. Just talk a little bit about yourself in the beginning and also about the recent pattern change. How will it affect the DI section?
Hmm.
So, and then you can continue solving the questions.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Okay. So, hey everyone, I'm Kevin Preji. I secured AI 19 in CLAT 2022. And and since then, like there's been a significant change in the CLAT pattern, right? Nevertheless, it's not significant because all that's changed is the number of minutes, right? And the number of questions. So, which means that per question, you have a lot more time. And which finally essentially means that for every question, you have a lot more time. Your speed is not as important, but your accuracy matters a lot more, right? So, yeah. So in relation to maths, how this would affect maths. So the current change in the pattern is that before it was 150 questions, now it's 120 questions, but the time remains the same, right? Therefore, you have a lot more time per subject and per section, right? Um, Nevertheless, um, for maths, it does not make that much of a difference because either way, in fact, I would say you have a lot more time for maths, but don't get too complacent in that because at the end of the day, like this is a ranked exam, right? So you have two levels, like one, like, are you able to solve maths in the first place? And yeah, like if you're able to solve maths, that's great. I mean, that's also like very important. Second is, how do you approach maths, right? Now that you have a lot more time per section, are you allowed to take a lot more time to solve these questions? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, this is a ranked exam, right? If someone's able to solve the same 3 sets or 2 sets at a much faster pace than you, they are essentially keeping more time for other sections, right? And their accuracy will naturally be higher in those sections. So, and with maths, your accuracy can be 100. If you do the same DI set in 10 minutes and I do the same DI set in 20 minutes, we could still get the same full marks, right? Our accuracies could be 100 also. And that's probably where, and that's why people say that maths is a rank deciding factor, right? Because everyone can do English and reading sections, right? Only when it comes to maths, a significant portion of your competition is completely wiped out, right? So, um, now that I've said that, I hope you do understand that now with the current pattern with maths, even though you do have a little bit more time and you have a little bit more leeway to do maths, all that's giving you is time to do the third set in maths and to finish all the questions in maths. But this does not mean that you can take maths a little lightly. You still have to do it under pressure, under speed, and like within a small amount of time. And still maintain 100% accuracy, right? Because 100% accuracy is naturally expected out of you, especially if you want to get into NLS, right? So, um, yeah, with that, I can see a lot more people joining, but yes, with that, we can start with our math session. So in this session, we would kind of be looking at a maths mock and like solving it live.
Nice.
And, and I'll be like explaining or I'd be showing you what exactly goes through my head, how I solve these questions, and how exactly I'm battling through a lot of decisions in my head, right? So yeah, I think we can go ahead. Let me share my screen. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I think you guys can see my screen now. Um, yeah, so we'll start. Just a minute. Yeah, okay. So, just a minute. Let me just try removing this. Perfect. Yeah, cool. So I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, I think you guys can see my screen. Um, yeah, you can see my screen. So anyway, before you start with the maths, right? So okay, we're still going with the old pattern here, like where there's 15 questions, but I mean, it does not really matter whether you're doing the new set or the old set, right? Because maths is still the same in technicality, like, it's still DI sets. So now that that's the case, what I would do, right? So, okay, I've just finished all the other four sections and I'm on my last section, which is maths, right? So how do I approach this now? What do I do? Oh, like I am not going to directly start with the first set because that's a dumb thing to do. There are three sets, and in these three sets, it's usually a smarter choice to start the easier one first. So I need to all and this and plus if you're doing this during mocks, you will be able to develop a ability to look at a question and be able to gauge its difficulty. So, and this is a like a really, really crucial skill because you might end up choosing the wrong set to do by mistake, and you might end up not getting enough time to do that, and you would have lost over 5 marks, right? So now let's look at this, right? So the first set, it's on, okay, two bullet trains. So like a primary glance of this, it looks like, okay, it has a lot of ratio, proportion, and percentages. But the thing is, do you see it's also in a paragraph form, right? And usually paragraph forms, it gets a little tricky, which means you also have to make a table. This is the second point that I'll come to in some time. But yeah. So now that I see that this is a paragraph form, and I realize that, okay, fine, this is somewhat like, ratio proportions and maybe a little bit percentages. I'm like, okay, fine. So this is like moderately easy, right? So this passage is easy. I can choose to do this passage without ruining or losing on a lot, right? This, okay, now I see this and I'm like, okay, um, all I see is a huge pie chart, right? It's a huge pie chart. And clearly, okay, it's a pie chart based question. There's only one pie chart, right? Um, just a minute. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, so it's only one chart, which makes it very easy because I don't have to like interpret two charts. I only need to interpret one chart. And on top of that, you can see there's a lot of ratio proportion here, right? So I kind of get it. Like, okay, it's going to be a mix of percentages and ratio proportions. These are two things I'm decently good at, right? Because this is what you've been doing for a very long time. It's not a surprise. There's nothing surprising yet, right? And then finally, we've got the last passage, right? The last passage has a bar graph. On top of that, it has a table. So over here, you have two pieces of information. But if you notice this table already has the information you want, like directly over here. So this is not a table that you need to calculate, or this is not a chart that you need to calculate. This is a chart that's just presenting data to you. This is something you would need to calculate here because over here it says percentage of exports. You see, they've only given 40%, 60%. I don't know how much that is in number, right? And then solving these questions. So now that I've looked at all three of them, okay, relatively all three of them are on the same level and relatively easy. But I would say I'd start with this one first, this one second, and maybe last I would go with this, right? Because over here, I mean, in this case, it does not really matter too much because most of the three passages are on like very similar difficulty, right? So yeah, then let's start. I can start with the first passage also. Like they're all on very similar difficulty. But either ways, if they're not on very similar difficulty or if they're in topics that you're not very comfortable with, go from the easiest to hardest. That's usually a good pattern. Um, is this not being recorded? Just a minute. Oh, this is not being recorded. Yeah. Okay, just give me a minute. Actually. Oh, thanks for telling me, by the way, that this is not being recorded. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait, it's being recorded. Okay. Okay. It's don't worry. It's being recorded on YouTube already. It's being live streamed, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, then let's continue. So where did I stop off? Yeah, I was sharing my screen. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Now that look, step one, I've gauged the difficulty of all three passages. My conclusion is that all three passages are of similar difficulty, and it does not really matter what I would start with. But I think technically, like this passage seems a little bit more easier because I'm more comfortable with ratio proportion, and like these are very like straightforward numbers, right? It's 40%, 30%, like they're much easier to calculate, right? So, okay, fine. So let's try solving this. There are two bullet trains being sold to India by the Jap, and you can also try solving this side by side with me. There are two bullet trains being sold to India by the Japanese government, Vayu Vajra, Vande Bharat. Okay. Both these trains have four different types of coaches. That's so you have sleeper, AC tier 3, tier 2, tier 1. Okay. In Vayu Vajra, there are total of 3,000 passengers. 3,000 passengers. Vande Bharat, on the other hand, has 40% more passengers than Vayu Vajra. So, like, I'm making information over here itself, right? If Vayu, yeah, Vayu Vajra has, let me just put this away. Let me like put it all in a different color, maybe. 1 second, actually. Yeah. Okay. So Vayu Vajra has 3,000. Let me make a table over here. So over here, I told you, right? The second thing is to make a table, and that kind of takes a little bit time. So because you don't know what kind of a table you need to be making, but over here, I know what table I need to be making, so that's fine. So you need something like this. Yeah. So Vayu Vajra, Vande Bharat. Over here, sleeper 3, 2, 1, right? Okay. So Vayu Vajra has 3,000 and Vande Bharat has 40%, 40% more passengers than Vayu Vajra, right? So you can make things shorter by doing this 140 by 100 into 3,000, right? So just keep a book for reference here. I've not used my rough book in a while. Just give me a minute. I'll just get my pen and come. Okay. Yeah. So I'll also just write brief pointers here so that we know what we're talking about, right? One, sort the sets. And now, okay, second, instead of 40%, you can do 140 by 100, right? Yeah. So what I need to say is like over here, instead of doing, okay, what is 40% of 3,000 and then adding that to 3,000, you can just do what? You can just do 140 by 100 into 3,000, right? And yeah, that's so this is equal to 5,200, right? So that's pretty easy, right? And you keep doing this for a while. 30% of the passengers in Vayu Vajra are sleeper coaches. So 30% of the passengers here, right? Now, 1/3 of the total number of passengers in Vayu Vajra are in tier 1 AC, 1/3. Okay. That's 1,000, right? And then 18% of the passengers in Vayu Vajra are in AC tier 2. Like, do you see, like, these are very, very direct ones. So I'm glad I took this passage first, right? So 18%. Oh, my bad. Yeah. Sorry, this is this. Yeah. Okay. And never mind also, like, so even if you do make a silly mistake, you will eventually catch on. And that's also another thing you'll find out like somewhat during this session. Even if you make silly mistake, you'll catch. So I'll eventually tell you how you'll catch on like silly mistakes like this. But anyway, thanks for like letting me know. Um, yeah. So then after that, tier 2, right? So 18% in tier 2. Yeah. Where am I typing? 540. And finally, tier 3 and the remaining in tier 3. Okay. Remaining is okay. So naturally over here, 100. Okay. And yeah, 560. Cool. Yeah, makes sense. Because this would add up to 100 that will come here and 3,000 in total. Okay. And now next, we have 40% of the total number of passengers in Vande Bharat are in sleeper coaches. Okay. Um, so that's 40% into 40 to 100, right? So that's around, I think, calculate. Yeah, 1680. Let me just hold this. Yeah. And for, okay. In Vande Bharat, the ratio of the passengers of tier AC 3, 2, and 1 is 4, 3, and 2. Okay, so 4, 3, and 2. So 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 2, 9, right? So 9x. And what you do is basically over here, 9x is equal to the remaining. How much is the remaining? 4200 by minus 1680. So that's 1, 9, 10, 0, 10, 2, 1, 3, 5, 2, 2520, right? So 9x is equal to 2520. So therefore, x is equal to 2520 by 9 is equal to 16. Yeah. So 2520 by 9 is 50. 280. So now from here, I just have to multiply it, right? So tier 3 to 1. So 3 to 1 would be tier 3 to 1. Okay, 4 over there. So 280 into 4, right? So 280 into 4 is 1120. 280 into 2 is it 2? Yeah, 480 into, so 280 into 3 is 840. And 280 into 2 is 560. Right. So here, and now you've sorted it and you've made a table. From this point on, it's a little too easy, right? The total number of passengers in sleeper class in both the trains is what percentage of the total number of passengers in Vande Bharat, right? So total number of passengers in sleeper class is 900 plus 1680 by Vande Bharat, right? So that's 4200. So you finally get 9,000 plus 1680 by 4200 is equal to, and you calculate this, right? So when you calculate this, you get around, let's see. So when you add these both, you get around 2580 by 4200 and into 100, right? So 0 cancel, 42. And so do you see over here I'll also tell you this one thing. Let me tell it to you. So 2580 by 4200 into 100. Yeah, great. Naturally, you're getting your answer here as 2580 by 42. Right. Now over here, how do you make this into percentage? Like I would naturally have to like divide, cut, and but the thing is, look at these options. These options are so different, widely different, right? One, I can definitely say it's not 75% because this doesn't look like this cuts it in 3 parts or 4 parts. Like it's not that definite, right? Um, on the other hand, right, if I look at this carefully, if I start like calculating it, okay, 42, um, 42 ones are 42. 1 second. I made a mistake. Okay, wait. So I'll cancel it, right? So, 42 into 6, I think is 250. 42 into, so 42 into 6, let's check. 6 2s are 12, 1 6 4s are 24. Yeah. So over here, if you look at this, 42 into 6 is equal to 252, right? So 42 into 60 is equal to 2520, which is very close to 2580. So naturally, your answer will be around 60%. So your answer is already D. So I wrote this just to do the cancellation part, but do you say so you're cutting it, right? 41 ones are 41, 41 6 are 252, right? And then you're trying to cancel it, but you're like, okay, wait a minute, like I've already reached my first number as 6, or like the first thing as 6. Then you don't have to calculate the rest. You can immediately choose D as the answer. That's one question down. Now we'll start moving a little faster, right? So because these are all very easy questions. The cost per ticket of Vayu Vajra for AC tier 3 and tier 1 are 1800 and rupees 3000 respectively. And then find the total amount generated by both coaches. This is a simple addition. Like if you want me to do it, I can do it. But this, so AC tier 3 and tier 1, right? So we have already calculated it here. Tier 3 and tier 1 of Vayu Vajra. Tier 3 and tier 1. Okay. So 560 into 1800 plus 3000 into 1000, right? Now over here, I don't have to make this calculation also. I can just calculate the last digit sort of thing, like this number, right? So let's do this. 1 second. 000. Okay, 000. Okay. That might be a little complicated again. 18 6 are 42, right? And let's just try looking at it. Yeah. So if you calculate this, what answer are you guys getting? A. Um, okay, I'll jump to that question. Vishnu, towards the end of the session, could you let me know that question? Yeah, the answer is definitely A. So now let me just see it, right? So now, okay, next one, right? Try solving this also. Find the difference between the average number of passengers in AITC 1, 2, and 3 together. And they gather to that, okay. So over here also, do you see this is a very basic like averaging and difference, right? Average number of passengers in AC tier 1, 2, and 3 in Vande Bharat to that of the total passengers in in AC tier 2, 3, right? So the thing is, a lot of people might make a mistake because they've seen average here. They think, okay, average number of passengers in AC 2 and 3, right? So that's where you might make a mistake. So be careful about this. These are traps, right? Traps. Now, over here, if you want, we can solve it. Average in tier 1, 2, 3. So you got tier 1, 2, 3. You take this and you take the average of it, right? And then you subtract it from total number of passengers in tier 2 and 3 together in Vayu Vajra. Oh, sorry, my other way around. You take these three and then tier 1 and 2 in Vayu Vajra. And so you take an average of this, subtract it from the total of this. And 138. So what answer are you guys getting? Let's see. Let me also try calculating this. Yeah, the answer is 260. Yeah, whoever got this right, great. Yes, it's 260. So don't make these mistakes, right? And naturally also, I'll tell you about the unit digit method also. Unit digit method. Okay, and so now for the 139th, right? Find the ratio between the total number of passengers in sleeper and AC tier 1 to get in Vayu Vajra to that of the total number of passengers in AC tier 2 and 3 together in Vande Bharat, right? So again, sleeper AC tier 1, total number of passengers, tier 2, tier 3. It's a very direct question, right? If you want, we can look at it. A minute. So you guys are getting 95 is to 98. Let's see. Sleeper AC tier 1. Sleeper AC tier 1 in Vayu Vajra. Yeah. Sleeper and AC. Sleeper and okay. 1900 is to okay. Tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 2 and tier 3. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The answer is B only. So there you go. Your answer is here is B. Highlight it. Yeah. And finally, the last question for this passage. Total number of passengers in AC tier 2 in both trains together is approximately what percentage, more or less, than the total number of passengers? Again, very easy, right? So total number, add these both and see how much more it is, right? So if you were to do that, you would get, let's see, someone has answered A. Is it A? Let's check. Okay, 1380 by, okay, let's see how much is that. 1680. The difference, right? So over here also, if you look at the difference, like clearly it's lesser, right? So over here itself, you can eliminate more and more, right? These two mores you can eliminate. Now it's between 18% less and 32% less, right? Now, do you see there's a significant difference because it's like a double. Over here, we're getting around like a 200, 300 difference, right? So 300 difference, right? So you're comparing 300 by 1680, that's almost 1700, right? If you look at it, this is a very small fraction. It's not going to be 32%. 32% is 1/3, right? So naturally, even without calculating, I can just say this. And here, this is where I'll also write approximation. Yeah. So again, obviously in this session, I'm taking a lot more time because I'm like solving it by hand and I'm also like making like speaking it out. But if you look at the 140th question, I have not solved this at all. Like I just realized that on top it's 1380, on at the bottom it's 1680, right? The difference is around 300. And so the difference is around like 300, and we also have 1680 in the bottom of the denominator, right? Which means it's a small fraction. It cannot be 32% less. Therefore, because 32% is pretty much 33%, 1/3, and it's not 1/3 of um, such a huge amount, right? 1700. So therefore, it's clearly 18% less. And I've not done a single calculation. I cannot verify the statement. It's simply approximation and it works brilliantly. And this is something you'll see also. Now let's look at the next passage. We'll go a little faster with this, right? So let's see. EY, a famous auditing company, began working on 6 different companies following an order from the government to probe a scam. The following bar graph shows the total number of employees in 6 different companies in a year. So do you see these percentages are a little off, right? So the moment I see these percentages, I'm like, okay, like these might be hard to calculate. And because they are hard to calculate, like look at the 17%, 22.7, 13.9, these are relatively much harder percentages to calculate. So I'd naturally actually skip over this and I'd move to my third passage, right? So this is my third passage. So, and then we do the middle passage, like if we have time, right? So look at this. Let me just write this as strategic retreat, right? Yeah, perfect. So over here, 146 to 150, right? Nikko, a Japanese lens company, had requested Deloitte's services with analyzing the current camera market in India. The graph below shows production of cameras in 1,000 units by different companies in 2 different years, right? But over here, they've given you the data straight away. Perfect. I just need to solve this out, right? The average number of cameras exported by company DNF in 2015 is 35,000, while the cameras exported by company D in 2014 is twice the exports in 2015. Okay. Twice the exports. Okay, find the approximate percentage of exports by company F out of the total production of the company. Okay, perfect. This is not that hard. So over here, if you look, 2014, so we've got data for 2014 for D, but we have not got it for this, right? But nevertheless, it's only half. It's half anyway, right? So twice the export. What we need to do is cameras by DNF, right? Average number of cameras exported by DNF in 2015. Exported. Okay, we've got the values here. D and F in 2015 is this production. Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So look at this. Now over here, I was a little perplexed, but look at this carefully. The average number of cameras exported by company DNF in 2015 is 35,000, right? And now they're asking me to find the approximate percentage of export by company F. So all this is related out of the total production of company F in 2015. So if average is 35,000, then the total number of cameras exported by these two companies is 70,000, right? So let me just write that here. Total by DNF is 70K. Now, the cameras exported by company D, right? Company D is, let's see, this should be in thousands, I think, this production in thousands, yeah. So D in 2014 was 35,000, right? So 35,000 into 30%. So D in 2014 export is 35K into 30%. Now over here, I'm getting around 35, 70, 105, 10500. Now in 2015, right? In 2015. So over here, twice the exports, right? So this is twice the exports. So this would be half, right? So half of this is 5250. And yeah. Now find the approximate percentage. Now I can subtract these values from DNF, right? This is total DNF in 2015, right? In 2015, I've got D in 2015. So if I can subtract this, I realize that I have, okay, so how much, what do I need? Percentage of F out of in 2015, percentage export of company F, right? So reduced by F is equal to 70K minus 5250, 5250 is equal to 64750, right? 64750. Yeah. Now, an export, right? Over here, we've not given export. Oh, okay. Production. Yeah, my bad. Over here, this is exported. The average number of cameras exported. So this is the number of cameras exported in 2015, and production is already given here. Production is 90,000, right? So basically, it's again 64750 by 90,000, right? And that's around into 100. So this, let's see. Now, if you look at these options might seem close, but it's not like this proves anything definite, right? So let's say, 1 second. I'm just trying to see if I can make this easier for you. 65. If I make this 100 every time. What's the answer? 72. Perfect. Now, okay. So that this was pretty easy, right? If company E exported a total of, okay, this wasn't exactly easy because you had to undo an average, right? You undo an average and then you realize, okay, fine, this is how it works, right? Over here, 147. If company E exported a total of 50,000 cameras in the year 2014 and 2015, and the ratio between the export in 2014 and 2016, do you see 2016 is given here? Let me just note this also down. Within quest also segregate. Yeah. And the ratio between the export in 2015 and 2016 is 11:5. Then find the number of cameras produced by company E if in 2016 if export is 80% of the production. Okay, cool. So let's see. Right. Company E exports 5,000, 50,000 in both the testing. Ratio between export in 2014, 2016. Okay, E. So E, we've already gotten this one's number, right? And so from this, okay, look how I would solve it. I've got 70% here, 70% and 40K. So I would do 70% into 40, which is 7 3s are 21, 7 4s are 28. So 28K, right? So 28K is here, 28K. While this will be the remaining, right? 28K, so that's 22K. Easy. Now, over here, the ratio between the export in 2014, which is 22K, and 2016 is 11:5. So 11 twos are 22. So 5 twos are 10. So over here, this is 10. Then find the number of cameras produced by company E in 2016 if export is 80%. 80% of this is, okay, find the number of cameras produced, my bad. So over here, you're doing 80% of X, 100X is equal to 10K, right? Now, so 100 by 8K, 50 by 4, 25 by 2, 12.5. Yeah. So this is your answer, right? Did you guys also get the same answer? 148, right? The total number of cameras exported by company A in 2014 and 2015 is two by third. The cameras exported by company C in these years. Then find the percentage of cameras that were exported by company C out of the total production in 2015. Okay, pretty easy. Total number of cameras exported by company A in 2014 and 2015, both together, is 2/3 of the cameras exported by company C. Okay, do you see A? Both are given. So you would do 40% of 20 plus 60% of 50. So 4 twos are 8K. 8 plus 6 fives are 40. 40K, right? Wait. 1 second. 6 fives are 30. Yeah. So 8 plus 30. So that's 38K. Now you've got 38K here. And 38K is 2/3 of cameras exported by C in these years. Okay, so I know the total number of cameras done by C. So the total number of cameras done by C is like it's X, right? Like 38K is equal to 2 by 3X. So X is equal to 19 into 2 is 38, right? Yeah. 19 into 3. So I'll just keep it as 19 into 3. I won't fully calculate it. Find the percentage of cameras that were exported by company C out of. Okay, this is also another place where I can give you another tip. Don't fully calculate. Yeah. Then find the percentage of cameras that were exported by company C out of the total production in 2015, right? So we know that, okay, over here you will have to wait, okay, out of the total production. Okay, over here you actually have to calculate it. One second. Let's see. 148, right? Eighty thousand. Which one's 80,000? See, yeah, right. So the production is 80,000 and um I'm getting the, what's this? The export as the export in which, right. 5180, right? So finally I'm getting 51800 by 80,000. Are you guys also getting it? 5180 by 80,000 into 100, right? And that's around, let's see, this. Wait, let me just confirm if it's this. Zero by 8 6 are 50. 3 5 are 40, 6 are 48, 3 8 5 is 8 4. Yeah, right. 64%. It's so I calculated only till 6 4 and I kind of realized nothing else matches, so this works. Over here, these two options you can instantly eliminate, A and C. And now I'll also write this worst case eliminate and yeah, here. I'm giving you all the possible solutions, right? 149. The 20% of the cameras exported by company B in 2014 are defective, and ratio between defective cameras exported by company B in the year 2010. Okay. The percentage of out of the total. Out of total production. Okay. So over here also, do you see 70, 67? But I'm glad like this is a random odd number. And this is a random odd number. Rest are all like very like prim and proper numbers, right? So which means I can do a unitary division method and unit digit method and calculate the answer, right? So let's see. Mm, So defective cameras, right? How do we calculate defective cameras? Um, 20%, 2014. Company B. So do you see company B doesn't have this, right? But you can already calculate with 42%. So 42% into its production, you'll get that amount. That 20% is defective, while the ratio between defective cameras in 2014 or 2015 is 7.5%. There you can with this information you can calculate the defective cameras in 2015, right? Now from here, percentage of defective cameras out of the total exports of a company. So the total exports is already given there. The total exports is 30K, right? So 30K into export percentage X into 13.5% is this amount, right? Which we got from here. And that's how you calculate. So I'll just repeat the steps. First, again, we've only got 42% here, which is the percentage of export, but we've got these two values. This makes it easier. So 42 into 45, that's the percentage of cameras that were exported in 2014. Now 20% of them, so you multiply that into 20%. That's defective. All of these are defective. The ratio between the defective in 2014 and 2015 is 7:5. So that is to 7 and 2015 is to 5. Like if you can do ratio proportion, right? Basically over there you would do something like, so you've got your 20% the value, like a value in hand, right? So that much, like 7 by 12x is equal to that much. Therefore 5 by 12x is equal to how much, right? That's how you do a ratio proportion there. And yeah, with this, I think the answer is, I'm getting, let's see, 13.5%, right? I'm getting 2/3. Yeah, so this. So over here, they have not asked you approximate, like use this, right? If you calculate the answer, you'll get 66.66%. But because they've asked you approximate, it's 70%, right? Now, cameras exported by company A, B, and D in 2014 is approximately what percentage of the export by A and E in 2015? Okay, this is almost a very direct this thing because they probably have all the value for this. A and E in 2015, A and E is already here. A, B, D, all of these. It's a very direct question, right? So, and here also, I don't think there's much shortcut over here. It's just a calculation. You might want to make it a little faster. So, yeah. And anyway, if you do want to solve this question, okay, let's just do this. Wait, A, B, and D. Sorry, I got a message. A, B, and D. 40, 42, 30%, right? 40, okay. So essentially, there's not much of a shortcut here, but you don't want to calculate this value individually, this value individually. You can put it into one big equation because once you do that, you can take them all out and cancel them. And so you do 40 into 20 plus 42 into this and 20 into this, and then calculate it, whatever they're asking. So they're asking A, B, and D is approximately what percentage of the export by A and E in 2015. This and this. Yeah. So there's not much, but over here, what you want to do is you want to directly just apply, like make one big equation, because if you make one big equation, without calculating individually, okay, how many were exported by A, how many were exported by B, how many were exported by D, how many were exported by A and E in 2015, adding them all up manually, then putting a division symbol and then calculating it takes too much time. Instead, you make the equation completely. So you make the equation completely, then you can take common out from the denominator, common out from the numerator, and cancel. And like there's a lot of tens, hundreds that you can cancel, right? Which is great. And anyway, if you calculate this also, you'll get 65%. So finally, like we've done this, right, mock, but there are some more important things and I've written it down here. So And with this, after this, we'll end the session, right? So, um, yeah. So, what are our key takeaways from this mock? And this is the most important part of the session, right? First, the moment you see three sets, you sort the sets, right? Okay. What do I mean by sort the sets? Do it from easy to difficult, right? Not only do you sort it from the sets overall, you also sort the questions inside. What do I mean by that as such? Is let's say you have 4 minutes left and you have one passage. You cannot solve 5 questions in 4 minutes. It's a really tall task, and unless the questions are really, really, really easy, it's just not possible, right? You cannot solve 5 questions. And now that means you will have to sacrifice on some questions, right? Then you would realize that, okay, fine, just makes more sense to do a fewer easier questions, like maybe 3 easier questions than 2 hard questions, right? So within that passage, you want to sort the questions also. Next, um, you want to make these calculation jumps, right? So instead of doing 40% into a certain amount, getting that, adding that to the whole amount, then getting the total, right? Instead, you can just do 140 by 100, because if 100% is that amount, 140 will be 40% more, right? So, and now talking about silly mistakes, right? So the thing is, over here, I made a silly mistake. I made it 5, right? That I would have not been able to get this answer. I wouldn't have been able to get this answer also. The moment I realized that, I would realize, oh, something's wrong with this, right? This part maybe. And the thing about silly mistakes is that it's a little tricky, which is also why these sort of passages are prone to silly mistakes. Like, so that's something you want to also realize, because do you see, all this calculation was very dependent on this calculation. So if this calculation went wrong, these calculations also go wrong. And it's like a vicious cycle, right? Everything starts going on wrong. So that's why when you're doing a passage like this, you want to be very careful. On the other hand, graphs are not that crazy. Just a minute. I'll just finish everything first. Um, Graphs are not that crazy, because over here, this individual calculation is not going to affect this, right? So these are less, you are less prone to silly mistakes. Yeah, over here, right now. Okay. Here, this is a trap, and sometimes you will make this mistake also. And one, that's fine, but the thing is, the moment you realize it's not in the options, don't jump straight to checking your calculation. Just look at what they're asking you again. Average number, and oh, it's not average, it's total. Shit, my bad. And then you'll make the mistake. You'll realize your mistake, right? Next is also unit digit approximation, right? So, okay, but that I'll come to later also. Um, Over here also, I think I pretty much more or less explained how I would use approximation, right? When I realized that there's a really small number in the numerator and a really huge number on the denominator, I realized that, okay, the fraction is going to be very small, right? So therefore, it's not going to be 32%, because 32% is almost 1/3. That's a huge chunk, right? So just a minute. I'll come to that. I'll just come to that. Um, Within questions also segregate. Okay, I've written this. And now when it comes to don't fully calculate, like the moment I'm calculating and I realize, okay, it's 6/4, like I'm like doing long division, right? 6/4. I don't have to calculate the 7/5. I can immediately go and write the answer. Now, this is a little risky. This is a tip that I'll give you, which is a little risky. Over here, basically, um, over here, if you look at it, this is an extreme percentage. This is also a really extreme percentage, right? Now you've reached a certain place, but you don't want to calculate. You realize that the number isn't too big. Okay, so you have a numerator and a denominator, right? If the numerator is really big and like really close to the denominator, it will be A, right? It's almost 100%. Let's say it's something by 100. So if it's 90 by 100, then it's almost 90%. But as this slowly gets smaller, let's say if it's really small, if it's like 25, 24, then it's like 25, 24%, right? the same way. Now I see that this number is not like that. It's not in these extremes. It's a pretty average looking number. So which means naturally the number is this. So this I can eliminate within 1 second. Within 1 second, I can eliminate A and C. In the next second, I realize, okay, fine, B and D, right? Okay, what do I do about B and D? Do I sit and calculate? Oh shit, I don't have time. The clock is ticking, or maybe let's say they've already started collecting the paper. Shoot, okay, I don't have the time. I blindly choose, because then also you have a 50% chance of getting it right. Again, something I won't recommend, but if worst case scenario and you have nothing else to do, this is one of your best bets, right? Finally, also you want to realize that you want to start approximating a lot of values in. So if you watch me also, I mean, obviously I was not solving each and every line here, and I was not writing it down because it's a little hard to type it out and like copy it from my notebook to the screen to show it to you guys. But I use a lot of approximation in this session, right? Where I'm like, okay, 30% of 900 is almost 2,700. And if you want to do 10% of that, that's like 270, subtract that's 250, like around like that, right? You're doing all this sort of approximation. So when you're doing this sort of approximation, your skill gets so much better. Over here also, when I realized that the answer is around 2/3, I knew the answer was 67%, right? Now I'll come to like clarifying your doubts. You guys had a few doubts. And then we'll call an end to the session, right? So yeah, so we have, hey Kevin, what are all the topics apart from percentage, ratio, proportion, average, do you think we need to cover for for quantitative techniques, right? So for maths, you have more or less 5 to 6 main important ones: percentages, ratio, proportions, time, energy, work, time, speed, distance, time, uh, time and work. It's 4 concepts: percentages, ratios, simple interest, mainly these 5. And if you're able to and averages of obviously, right? I wouldn't even count average as like a different topic, because it's, total number of things on top by number of items on top, like a plus b by 2 or a plus b plus c by 3. It's very basic. So that's almost these 6 main things, right? So now that, let's look at the next question. Next one is, hi, listen, what chapters? And okay, I've talked about that. Is this about CLAT and SEC? No, no, it's on the same level. It's on the same level. The difficulty level in CLAT is actually might be it's either it's on the same level, or it's a little easier. How much time would I allocate? So you should ideally be finished with it in 15 minutes. I used to take maybe 16, 17 minutes to do 2 passages. 2.5 passages actually I'll finish in 15 minutes ish, around that. But worst case, so sort of like, um have you done the set and plan? How much time would you allocate? Don't take more than 2 minutes. So if there's one set, don't take more than 10 minutes. You're allowed to take 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, but not more than 10 minutes. Okay, let's see. How do you solve that pie chart with complex percentages? First of all, I wouldn't if I didn't have much time. But if I did have much more time, this is where the unit digit starts getting so much more useful, right? So now let's say I'm doing 27 into 42, right? So when I do 27 into 42, or 27,000 into 42,000, I realize, okay, 7 into 2 is 14. So the first number that comes after all the zeros will be 4, right? And I can immediately choose that option, which makes life so much simpler, because doing calculations otherwise is so much more harder, right? What about time and work? It is difficult, but there's a good chance that it might come in the paper, right? Because A is doing a work in 20 days, B is doing a work in 30 days. How many days would they take to do the work together? These are really good questions, right? And therefore it comes multiple times. It comes. So apart from that, all you need to know is that the paper could also be unpredictable. In the sense, you might get a really, really, really hard data interpretation question. If that's the case, sort the sets, right? Do the easiest ones first and then come to the next one. Next, um, if you're calculating, don't complete the calculation just like halfway through the point. If you kind of realize, okay, this number is too big, then go for the option with the highest. Or if the option's too small, then go. Or if you feel like this answer that you're going to get, if I'm going to do 2 into 3, I know the answer is small, like, but if I'm going to do 20 into 4, I know the answer will be like a little bigger. That's what I mean. I don't have to literally do the calculation. And based on that, you can choose the options. So don't fully calculate, use the unit digit method where you're looking at the unit digits of both the multiplicants and then seeing what their unit digit is and seeing if it's there in the options, right? Then, and that's mainly what I have. And worst case, if you're, and there's always a good chance, right? Where, you're done with 2 sets, you have one more set, but one more set, you only have 1-2 minutes actually. In these 1 minutes, what are you going to do, right? In these 1-2 minutes, you can try doing a question, the easiest out of the 5 questions. So you also want to develop this habit of knowing whether this passage is hard or not just by a glance. And yeah, with that, that's all I had to talk about. That's all the information that I could share with you. If there's any other questions you can ask. If not, we can bring the session to an end. Yeah. Hey, how much time? Um, okay, so good places to suggest, good places to practice data interpretation from is Adda 247. So you take Adda 247 and go to the last chapter. Last chapter is chapter 8, caselets. These caselets are great. In fact, you can, the whole book, it's a whole book, right? So there are different types of data interpretation. Also, there's like a few YouTube channels. So there's this one YouTube channel, just write data interpretation in 4 hours, complete data interpretation in 4 hours. It's a 4 hour long video. It has all the kinds of data interpretation, like conceptually possible, right? I'd really recommend you go through that also. And how much time do you need to give for QT practice? I would say do a sectional a day, because that keeps our practice, right? And actually, over the course of 6-8 months, you're able to do things so much faster. And let's say you don't have the time, also do QT once every 2 days, but do keep a consistent mode of preparation for quantitative techniques. You don't need to do more than once a day because you're doing it almost every day, right? Yeah, if there's no more questions. And yeah, with that, I hope the session was really helpful. With maths, again, please do realize that in the paper, you cannot be taking your sweet time in the math section. You will also have to write it within time pressure, and still ensuring, and while ensuring that your accuracy is still at 100%, right? Because if you do this, you save up more time for the other sections. And yeah, with this, I bring this session to an end. It was like a great session, honestly. Hopefully this benefited you. Yeah, take care. See you. Bye-bye.